the journey that tomorrow will bring. So be sure you're always ready to face anything. Every move you make, every step you take, yeah, they will be on this map you've made. You think you're ready to see what could lie beyond the land and the sea, always shining bright, so difficult but charming. Within the heavy rain, dreams in a hurricane. Now it's time to shake things up and go. One dream, one wish. If you wanna chase your dream, go for the knockout. Over the top. Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and this video will seem to be my last video of the year. 2022 is officially coming to a close and 2023 is right around the corner. But with that being said, in this video I will be ranking all of the 2022 movies that I've watched. Note, by that I mean that I will only be ranking the movies that I've watched that was released in 2022. Even though I've seen 55 movies in total this year, well, more than that, but 55 movies that I've made a video of, only 34 of them will be in this ranking, since only 34 of them are able to meet that rule, I guess, for this video. Though at the end of the video, or in the comment section, of course in the comment section, I will list out all 55 movies ranked. So, with that being said, let's just get right to it. And remember, this is all my personal opinion. So some of these movies you might be like, okay, that makes sense. And others you might be like, wait, why is this so high or so low? Like I said, it's all my opinion. Now, let's get right to it.
Oh, hello, mammals!
Yep, this should not be a surprise. Coming dead last is Ice Age: The Adventures of Buck Wild. What is there to say about this movie? I was very skeptical once I stepped into it. With Blue Sky gone, I don't see any point for Disney making more films off of their franchises. They could have just kept Blue Sky if that was what they were going to do. Or something like that. Whatever the Warner Bros. Discovery is doing, that's probably the main reason why they, completely deleted Blue Sky and all that. But back to the movie. It is trash. There is nothing to like about this movie. Crash and Eddie are two of the most annoying characters in the Ice Age franchise. So, of course, when giving them the main roles in this movie, that's a major red flag to begin with. The villain is also trash. Everything about this movie is trash and forgettable. And I am only worried about what they have in store, since it turns out that they're going to make another Ice Age movie and another Rio movie. So, with that being said, this is by far the worst movie I have seen this year, and that is why it's at the bottom of the list.
School! This is so cool, Frankie!
Coming in at number 33, second to last, is, of course, this movie, Monster High the movie. Once we saw the trailer, we all knew that this would be bad. Live-action adaptations of animated movies and shows are never good. While yes, we do have a few diamonds in the rough here and there, but the majority of them are just downright awful. And this movie is no different. The CGI in this movie is terrible. But, come on, what do you expect for a TV movie? And the only thing that I really liked about this movie is the opening song, since that song is actually a banger. Listen to it. I'm serious. This song is actually good. But that's the only good thing about the movie, in my opinion. And honestly, if you were hoping for a good Monster High movie, this is not it. Far from it, in fact. And that is why it is taking the number 33rd spot on this list.
Hello, Pops!
Why are the trailers for these movies great, but the movie itself isn't? Honestly, the only reason, or the main reason why I checked this movie out, is pretty much because of Tom Hanks. I am not on the hate train for some of the Disney remakes, as I find some of them quite enjoyable. But I do have to admit that this one does not compare to the original. And this one is far from being good. This movie is just like most of the others. There's nothing much to say about this one. I don't like it. And, of course, the only good thing that I like about it is the cover of When You Wish Upon a Star. That is actually a good cover, in my opinion. But that's pretty much it. So, nothing else to say. This movie's bad. Could have been good, but it isn't. Now, on to the next one.
We are loaded diaper!
Yeah, what can I say about this? The remakes are never as good as the originals, though I'd have to admit that this one is an upgrade from the movie that they dropped last year. Now, that one was just downright awful. This one is the same, but not as awful, you know? Like, this one isn't as bad. But it's still pretty bad. Animation is alright, I guess, but the whole movie is just downright cringe from start to finish. Though, it was nice to see or hear Ed Asner again, even though he passed away a couple months ago. I didn't expect to see him in a movie like this. But that's all I have to say about this film. Nothing much left. And that is why it's on this list. Or at the bottom of this list, I should say.
Intriguing.
Yep, bet you knew that this would show up sooner or later. While I don't necessarily hate the film, I just, hate how they completely got rid of all the Spider-Man connections that was supposed to be in this movie. Which is the whole reason why most people were wanting to watch the movie in the first place. Then, to add only one connection, that makes absolutely no sense at all. Yeah, this movie is a mess. Nothing else to say. Terrible villain, and the only thing that was good, or that actually came out of the movie, was all the memes. And that's pretty much it. That's why it's this low on the list. Now, the movies that I just talked about before this are all the movies that I consider bad. And from here on onward are the films that are either okay to great. And Lyle Lyle Crocodile is starting it off. I didn't intentionally want to see this movie, but since my brother was going to go see it, I decided to tag along. And after watching it, it's just mid. Nothing special. Pretty good soundtrack and awesome songs from Shawn Mendes and crew. But other than that, it's the same old generic movie of an animal trying to live in life in the New York City, or any city in particular. But that's all I got to say about this movie. So yeah.
Like it's a curtain? Tough crowd.
Looking back, I don't even know why I decided to check this movie out in the first place. It's not like trash, but the movie is something that I normally pass on. Although I do like Nate's song in the movie, and I still listen to it from time to time. The first song he's saying, that is. But if I wanted to watch a movie about someone who's trying to get big in New York City, I would go and watch Tick, Tick, Boom. Enough said.
Welcome back to Seabrook.
Another zombies movie. Oh boy, I was kind of excited for this one since I've already seen the other two, and most of you weren't around at the time, but when the first movie came out, I legit had Zed as my YouTube PFP, so I was 12 at the time anyways. But Zombies 3 is the third installment in the Zombies movie franchise, and it is most likely the last one. But hey, Descendants is getting a fourth movie, so anything is possible. Hashtag give us High School Musical 4! Anyways, I'm getting off track here. Why Zombies 3 is low on this list is that I didn't necessarily enjoy it. While the ending was quite emotional, we all knew that it would be permanent, or that it wouldn't be permanent actually. And obviously, the zombie sequels couldn't live up to the first one, in my opinion, since I think the first one is still the best out of the three. Also, this one is even more dumb than the first two. Although, I guess that's necessarily what you should expect for a Disney Channel original movie. But that's enough about Zombies 3. I liked some of the songs. If you know, you know. But other than that, it's just another average DCOM, but with some high stakes, I guess.
Well, you've always said that you wished you'd met me earlier.
Some might be shocked as to why this movie is pretty low on the list. Well, I just find this movie pretty forgetful, honestly. The story is pretty generic, but the cast is one solid cast. Mark Ruffalo, Ryan Reynolds. Other than that, there isn't much left for me to say about this movie or like. And I don't see myself watching it anytime soon. Rewatching it.
I know that change can be scary.
I was actually excited to hear that Enchanted was getting a sequel. I haven't seen the first one in probably a bit over a decade, but I do remember liking it. And come on, Elsa and Donut Lord in a movie together? What more can you want? Then I saw the sequel, and while I don't hate it, I don't find it good either. It's alright if you really like the characters and all, but in my opinion, I just didn't find it worth watching. Or rewatching, that is. The songs are nice, but there aren't any that I'd listen to again. Seriously, I haven't heard any of them ever since I've watched the movie. Overall, the movie is alright, I guess, but nothing more.
Kids, get the popcorn out.
boy was I disappointed. What this movie could have been. What they did to my boy Thor. He's a god, and apparently he needed the help of children. What Gore could have been. He's just a joke in this movie. What the other gods could have been. I bet Loki is happy that he isn't in this one. All I can say is that Thor Love and Thunder could have had it all, and it could have been a good movie. But it turned out to be a disappointment for Marvel Studios. Though, overall, this year hasn't been a good year for Marvel Studios anyways, with the exception of a few titles that we'll get to. Let's just hope that Thor 5 won't be as messy or bad as this film was. I don't think I'll ever check this one out again if I ever plan on rewatching some of the MCU films. Enough said. Oh. Now, from here and onward are the movies that I have actually enjoyed watching this year. All of the movies before this are a hit or miss for me. But now let's talk about A Christmas Story Christmas. While not as good as the original, it was still a fun watch for me. I loved all of the references from the first movie, and seeing some of the original cast in this movie was a delight. Though I felt that if the mother was going to be recasted, why not just have her dead in the movie like they did with the father? At least they didn't have someone replace the actor who played the father since he actually did pass away. It's honestly distracting seeing her act like Ralphie's mother when, in my head, all I'm thinking is, this is not her mother. I mean, his mother. My bad. But other than that, this is a delightful film for me. Don't know if I'll be checking this one out every Christmas, but maybe in the near future. Since I skipped seeing this in theaters, I didn't think of checking it out afterwards until my family rented it, so that was when I gave it a watch, 2 months after its release. And I'd have to say that it was solid. Not as good as the first and second Scream, of course, but I wouldn't call it a great movie, as sometimes I wanted to punch some of these characters in the face. But I didn't not like it, so I'd call it good. Might check out Scream 6 when it drops, but who knows. Finally, the first anime film on this list. Some of you probably don't even know what this movie is. Well, it's a Netflix movie, so of course it wouldn't be as advertised as a Netflix film that goes to theaters. Anyways, I liked the film. Don't think I'll be checking it out again, but it's a fun watch. If you had nothing else to watch on Netflix, then I'd definitely give this one a try. Might not be for everyone, but it's decent to say the least, and the soundtrack is good as well. But the story could be a bit confusing. Other than that, this movie is pretty good.
Prepare yourself for a journey beyond what is possible.
Coming in at number 20, we have Strange World, one of Disney's most bland films. Though I personally somewhat enjoyed it. In hindsight, I can see why most people didn't like it, and it's no surprise as to why it bombed in the box office due to how little Disney advertised it. There's nothing much left to say, so we'll leave it at that. It's an alright film, check it out if you'd like. One of my most hyped movies of 2022, and I did not expect it to be how it was. Some of you might be surprised or are asking why this movie isn't lower on the list. Well, I do agree that it definitely is not top 10 material, and the Zurg reveal is cliche, but I did find the movie pretty enjoyable when I first watched it. Though, once I see it again, I doubt that it'll be as entertaining. Let's just hope that if Woody gets a spin-off in the future, it would be much better than this. Also, to have Woody be voiced by RDJ, if you know what I mean. Chip and Dale. Now, this movie and onwards are the ones that I find really good, great even. And this one is definitely one of the surprises of the year. I never thought that I'd even give this movie a watch, but I did. And the movie is actually really decent. The fact that it was much better than I expected, with all of the cameos and references to the IPs that are used in this movie. And the movie was really funny. Overall, the movie was a blast, and I'd love to see another Chip and Dale adventure, or another movie similar to this. So if you haven't watched it yet, what are you doing? You will not be sorry. Check this out for sure. And that is why Chip and Dale is taking number 18 spot on this list.
Nothing but heartache.
Black Adam. Yeah, this film is good, with a lot of questionable scenes though. But Black Adam himself was great to see. And I do have to point out that Jafar was definitely not a good villain in this. And the whole movie is pointless now with the ending going nowhere, if you know, you know. But other than that, Black Adam is very solid. And it was nice to see The Rock as an actual comic book hero. So, that's all I gotta say about this movie.
This Halloween, you can't escape the shock.
Now, I know that this one is practically not a movie, but this is definitely an underrated gem of Phase 4. I loved how it was giving us the classic horror vibe with it being black and white and seeing the werewolf causing chaos. It was awesome. But other than that, it's really good, and if you have not seen it, I'd recommend it. If you're an MCU fan, that is. If not, maybe you'd still give it a watch, you'd probably still enjoy it. But that is why it is taking the number 16 spot on this list. Dragon Ball Superhero. This is it. This is the moment that you've all been waiting for. Maybe. So, I actually haven't even watched a single episode of Dragon Ball Super yet. Because when this movie came out, I was still in the middle of Dragon Ball Z. And I'd have to say that it was a fun watch. Although, it looked very weird with it being 3D and all. Honestly, I was still alright with that. I still found this movie good and fun. So, I'd recommend it to any Dragon Ball fan. Though, I bet once I watch Dragon Ball Super Broly, that will probably be my favorite Dragon Ball Super movie. Or Dragon Ball movie in general. So, I'd give this a watch if you are looking into watching Dragon Ball at some point. And yeah, that's why it's at the number 15 spot on the list. Some of you probably did not expect to see this movie as high. Well, even with its flaws in CGI, both this and Love and Thunder, I'd still find it pretty enjoyable, even though I'm in the minority who prefers this one over the first one, probably. I just couldn't really get with the first one. And yes, I was hoping to see some heroes that did not make the cut in this movie, which does bring it down a notch. But I still found the movie to be fun and quite enjoyable. This movie is even in my top 10 MCU films, though I didn't find this movie to be the best MCU project and film of the year, as there are two others that I find much better. But we'll be getting to that. Speaking of...
You're coming with us as a Christmas present.
Yeah, the main reason why this is pretty high is because I love the Guardians, and seeing more of them, especially in a Christmas special, is just a delight to see for the holidays. I'd even consider this as one of the best Christmas specials ever, and it is definitely something to watch for the holidays if you have nothing else to watch. Definitely one of the highlights of Phase 4 for sure, and it's my second favorite MCU project from Phase 4. Also, all of the movies from this one and on are what I'd consider to be the best movies of the year. So let's continue.
Yuta, I have a birthday gift for you.
Yes, the first anime film that I have watched this year. While I do not remember much of the Jujutsu Kaisen anime since it has been a while since I watched it, I still enjoyed seeing this prequel. Though, the main relationship is very odd. The characters and the plot of this movie are nice, and it was nice to see how some of the plot points came to be in the anime. And I love the songs in this movie. Top tier from King Nu. This movie also got me hyped for season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen. There's nothing much left to say about it. I'd recommend it to any anime fan, and JJK fans, obviously.
You're afraid because I'm the big bad wolf.
Didn't expect to see this movie be so good. Of course, the animation here is on point and is very unique. DreamWorks did it again, just like with the Captain in Your Pants movie. They should do book movies more often. But about the bad guys. It's very good, and I'd have to say that the characters are great, and I love seeing the bad team, the bad guys. And if you have not checked this one out yet, I highly recommend that you do. You won't be sorry, because the animation in this movie is top-notch, and the cast is great. Honestly, I don't really see much problems in this movie, so that is why it is number 11 on this list.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. I mean, I knew that this movie would be great, but holy cow! I think that I like this much more than the first one. While Rian Johnson didn't do good with The Last Jedi, he surely knocked it out with the park with these murder mysteries. and I regret not checking this out when it was in theaters for a week, since for some reason I went and saw Strange World instead. But looking back, I would much rather go check this movie out than Strange World. And yes, Glass Onion is the last movie that I've watched this year. As a matter of fact, on the day that I am recording this right now, I just watched the movie like a bit over an hour ago. And honestly, it's thrilling. But that doesn't stop this movie from making it to the top 10. If you have Netflix, then I highly recommend you to check Glass Onion out. It keeps you on your feet with the suspenses and the mystery behind this murder mystery, which is why Glass Onion deserves its spot on my top 10 favorite movies of the year.
No, this isn't happening.
Yeah, I've actually seen this movie more than once compared to all of the other ones on this list, so that probably explains why it's in my top 10. This movie did bring Pixar back to its feet after a rough start with some alright originals. Though I wasn't as hyped for this movie as I was for Lightyear at the time, this movie did turn out to be much better than Lightyear. I wouldn't put it up there with the legends like Up, WALL-E, and Ratatouille though, when talking about Pixar's original films. But this is definitely a must-watch for Pixar and Disney fans alike. I would give this movie a watch if I were you, even with the topics that they choose to cover in this film, but overall this movie is really good, so I recommend it.
Why is that? It's a secret summer research project. We're going tomorrow. You want to come?
I did not expect this movie to be really good, but it is. I was interested to see this movie once I saw the trailer, though it did take me about 3 months to actually see it. I do like the concept of the film, and the characters are great, some better than others, and this movie will take you on an emotional roller coaster. While it can be confusing to understand what it's trying to tell, it is still enjoyable for me, and I'd have to say that it's my favorite original anime film of the year, besides Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro though, because this is a 2022 movie list, so, you know. Now on to the next one.
Come see!
I didn't intentionally want to see this movie when I first heard about it, since I'm not the big Bob's Burgers fan, or the biggest Bob's Burgers fan. Then I heard the song, which I think you all know which one it is. That song intrigued me, and which is what got me to check this movie out on the big screen. And boy am I shocked. This has got to be one of the best cartoon movies out there based on a cartoon show. The music is the best of the series in my opinion. And this movie got me wanting to actually start the Bob's Burgers series and watch it. Even though I've already seen some episodes, I would actually want to check the whole series out, which I do plan on watching soon. If you're not a Bob's Burgers fan, then this can be passable. But if you've seen any of the episodes and liked them, then this will be no different. I didn't expect to like this movie as much as I did, and I've heard that the crew would like to make another, even though this movie did bomb at the box office, so another one might just have to be a TV movie, and I'll be okay with that. I'd love to see the Belchers again in another full-length film, so I do recommend this movie. It's that good.
You want to see something cool?
The second to last movie that I watched this year managed to make it to 6th place, and for good reason. This flick is really great. Like most movies on this list, I wasn't hyped for this one either, but once I saw that last trailer, it got me hooked. Puss in Boots 2 is one of the best sequels for an animated film. It's honestly up there with Shrek 2 and Toy Story 2. The characters are great, and Puss in Boots just became my second favorite Shrek character. And with this one, spoiler, leading to the next Shrek film. Most likely Shrek 5. And it is making me even more hyped to see what's next for this fairy tale universe. And I'd have to say that Puss in Boots: The Last Wish has got to be my favorite animated film of the year. Well, that isn't anime film, of course. If Puss in Boots 3 happened, then I will be hyped. Unless if it turns out to be another Shrek 3. But with that being said, this movie is a must-watch for anime fans and Shrek fans. Animation fans, my bad. Anyways, as it is the most beautifully done animated film of this year. Well done, DreamWorks. This year turned out to be your year. You have won the Animation Awards for 2022. Somehow, this company was able to put out better films than Pixar this year. But I ain't complaining. It deserves it.
That movie is the worst!
Top 5, baby. These next 5 films are what I'd consider to be the GOATs of the year. And starting it off is none other than Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This film was my most hyped film of the year. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 was a surprise, and I'd even call it the best video game movie until this one came out. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 blew me away. Not only did we get the Eggman that we wanted, but we also got Tails and Knuckles to join the fray. The human characters besides Donut Lord actually had something to do in the sequel. And both Supersonic and Shadow? Oh, come on! I knew that this movie would be great, but it's much more than that. The crew behind this film definitely succeeded with what they were doing, and I am very excited to see what's next for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And that is why Sonic the Hedgehog 2 takes the number 5 spot on this list.
Only the most broken people can be great leaders.
Yup, Wakanda Forever. Probably one of the most controversial films of the year, as it is Black Panther, but without Black Panther. T'Challa is what I'm trying to say. Though, even with all of that, this film still manages to be great. Though I do have a few problems with it, Namor is definitely the MVP of the film. He just fails to disappoint, and I cannot wait to see more of him in the MCU, hopefully. And this movie is nothing but emotional all throughout. It was tough with the loss of Chadwick Boseman, but they still pulled through and made a compelling story for Wakanda. Though I'd have to admit that this year hasn't been the brightest year for Marvel Studios, and Phase 4 is a tough knot to get through. But I'd have to say that this was a great way to end the phase, and I cannot wait to see what Phase 5 has in store. All I can say is that Wakanda Forever is without a doubt the best MCU film of the year, with no real competition. But on to the next film. While Wakanda Forever is the best MCU film of the year, it isn't the best comic book movie of the year. That goes to The Batman. This movie blew me away. Yes, it was pretty long, but that doesn't stop me from loving this movie. It's tied with The Joker for the best DC movie for me. And this movie also is the best Batman for me in a Batman movie. It was nice seeing Bruce Wayne actually being a detective for once. The villains are great, Black Cat is fine as ever, and I cannot wait to see what happens for The Batman 2. This film is definitely one of the highlights of 2022, and I'd definitely watch it if I were you. And, I mean, if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? I don't think that this film would have been in my top 5, but it is. This is definitely the most beautiful and stunning looking film of the year, and I actually prefer this movie over the first. With that being said, this movie is also one of the longest films of the year. I mean, over 3 hours. I didn't know if I could even handle that. But I did, and I didn't even look away at all during this movie. Yes, the plot may be bland, but I still love this movie with all my heart. And now I am on the hype train for the next Avatar films. Don't miss this one. Watch it in theaters. That way is what this movie is meant to be seen. But even with that, it isn't my favorite movie of the year. If you know me, then you'd know what my number 1 film of this year is. I tried to not be biased, but I am. Though I consider Avatar 2 to be the best movie of the year, it isn't my favorite. And that movie is...
It's forever. Uta is Shanks' daughter.
Come on, you saw this coming. Ever since Film Red was announced, it became my most hyped movie of the year. It isn't my first One Piece movie that I've seen in theaters due to the re-releases of Strong World and Film Gold, but it is my first new One Piece movie that I saw in theaters, and I loved it. While my theater experience for it wasn't the best, far from it even, it is still my favorite movie of the year. The songs in this movie are great, the character interactions had me smiling all throughout, and a lot of this movie is just great. But I won't be talking about it much since I've already made a whole review about it. So if you want to know more about why I love this movie, then you can check that out whenever. The link will be in the comments and all that jazz. All I can say is, whether you're an anime fan or a One Piece fan or whatever, all I can say is that you gotta check this one out. It blew me away, and so will it do for you. And that is why One Piece Film Red is my number 1 movie of 2022. And that is my 2022 movie rankings. Sorry for this video being over 30 minutes. I just got carried away, I guess. I mean, I completely scripted out what I was going to say for each movie. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember that this is all just my personal opinion. And before we end this video, I would like to list a few movies that I am excited for to see in 2023. The Super Mario Bros. Movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Fast X, The Little Mermaid, yes, I'm serious, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, Black Clover, Sword of the Wizard King, and more. 2023 seems to be another year with great-looking movies. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for another fantastic year, and thanks for watching. We'll see you all next year. This is TDI Fan 2022 signing off for the final time. Peace, and thanks for watching.